Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is Friday. It's a weekly roundup. It's the 17th. You know what?
Really a lot closer to 6 than most of the time.
When we signed off on our show on Wednesday, I told you that there was another miracle that's happened out of this. That they canceled tax day. For like the first time ever, the IRS sent people money on tax day.
No. That is so amazing. Putting that 2 and 2 together, like literally, it is like
they canceled taxes.
One part of it is psychosomatic.
Right.
It's a psychological experiment for on tax day for them to send you money. Mm-hmm. But then another part, they cancel tax day and they send you money. So, you know what I mean?
It's very interesting. Yeah. So I have to start out prerequisite. 2 things here. I am suffering from a very bad day of vertigo. I take no responsibility for my actions. I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I've got stretched pants on. I'm just literally
She's me in normal life all the time.
in like autopilot mode. Now, number 2, I need to tell on Leah, and I don't know if I can get close enough to the camera. Leah, look at the camera and see if I'm getting close enough. Can you see this? Purple?
I saw the purple.
Can you see that purple?
Yep, I see it.
Leah did that yesterday. I have a purple pump nard on my upper lip. I was waiting to put my lip gloss on because I wanted to show that off. You know, if you've got like a shiner, you got to show it to people. Tell them how you did it.
Smack her in the face with a twig.
No, yes, the tornado that went through. We went to our neighbors that suffered from the worst of it yesterday and helped clean up a lot of it. Well, I mean, it was 4.5 hours. It really wasn't that long.
I have a video of it.
I was kind of sore. Well, anyway, so we
had a really good system.
I was holding and she was clipping, and when she clipped that thing, whap. Now, accidents happen. It's what she did after the accident. She let out a gut laugh. She laughed so hard.
I didn't know.
I was like, that's not funny.
She was hurt.
That's going to swell up.
I didn't know she was hurt.
Oh my gosh. So. How Leah did it. Yeah, she did it.
Yeah, we had a really cool system. We had a neighbor on a tractor with a pitch fork on it. And
Forks on the front of the bucket.
Yeah, and then we were loading up all the brush, and the township's supposed to come and clear it away.
It's so much.
But I don't know how they're going to do it. It's literally like 100 feet and long and like 20 feet deep.
Yeah, it's
of brush.
It's not brush. Like and we were loading on logs. Like it would, like the 2 of us would pick up a log about 6 feet long, like this big around. It's
supposed to be 4 feet. Shh. That's what they said.
It was everything 4 feet long. They took everything from the last time.
I know.
They've already gone through and done it once. And he has, our neighbor and friend Ken, he has probably like, I think a third of it's probably gone. Maybe a half.
No, definitely.
You think half? I don't think it's over half. I think there's a lot more left to go. But anyway, so that's been our week. Well, we saw you 2 days ago.
Yeah, so yesterday felt really good to get out there and help out and be outside and be with our neighbors and do something good. You social distance with a chainsaw pretty easy.
Yeah. It's better than a mask. Like, it's better than those noodles people are wearing.
Yeah, I'm going to just go into Kroger with a chainsaw. I won't turn it on. Because it's one of those things that chainsaws, you social distance with those even when they're off.
So here's the funny part about a chainsaw. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I shouldn't say this. But if you take the chain off of a chainsaw, okay, it still looks scary. And you can start it up and it can't hurt anybody.
That's true.
Okay, so the engine sounds just as ferocious because the thing is spinning. There's just no chain. There's no danger. And it looks really scary. You just rev that thing up. No chain. Just saying. I'm throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. In flashbacks to when they used chainsaw at a haunted house, then the chains were still on.
No.
Well, a friend's.
Were they? I thought there wasn't a chain on there.
Pretty sure there was. I don't know.
Well, it was
hopefully there wasn't.
Knows?
All right. So, Trump kind of laid out his plan for reopening America after he went. See, he just keeps everybody on their toes because it's literally like somebody throwing
out there
firecrackers at your feet. And you have to kind of jump and then jump and then jump and then jump. And like you can never fall asleep with Trump. Okay? Because on the one hand, he's in this press conference. You're going to be sleeping
with one eye open, pilgrim.
No, listen, follow this. It's like literal whiplash. It's like he goes from 0 to 100 and then slams on the brakes. And then 0 to 100 and then slams on the brakes.
It's literally like driving with Grandma Cortis.
Oh my gosh. It is. It's starting to give everybody whiplash. And I don't think, maybe it's a good thing because it'll just, everybody. Is that a good idea?
It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
So earlier this week, he went on kind of this weird, like, I am king of the world type thing.
Okay, so some people are saying he was baiting people.
Well, watch the timeline. So he goes and he does this press conference, and he's like, I am in control of everything that reopens it. The buck stops with me. We're going to let the states hopefully do what they want to do, but if I need to step in, I'll step in. But I'm in control. I have the power. And he went on and on and on. It seemed like forever. I was like, he kept saying, I have the power. So then all of Twitter,
I have the
all
power.
of the internet blows up. Trump's a tyrant. And then
and they all start fighting. No, even the liberals start fighting for states' rights.
And that's the point. He baited them into fighting for their state rights. And now he had the press conference yesterday put all the responsibility on the states. And it's almost as if can he really be that sneaky? Does he really bait them into doing what he wants them to do like that? And the answer is probably.
I would agree with that.
Because that's the only explanation. That's the only explanation. So, okay, I'm going to go over
Although that would kind of make him look a liar, though, by saying all the powers resides with me, and...
It doesn't matter to him. It's the results.
That's true.
Results.
That's a good point.
All right, so I was trying to come up with a good analogy for this because Trump came out with a plan yesterday to reopen the economy, and it's kind of basic, and it's kind of vague. And so I know if you're here, especially for the first time, and you're like, oh, I really would like to know what this plan is. Well, it's kind of like if, you go to a party and everybody has either potato salad and you're asked, how did you like the potato salad? And you're like, it's okay. It's vague. It's vague. A vague response like you would respond to somebody's potato salad. Because truthfully, nobody really
unless it's Michelle's potato salad.
Unless it's Michelle's potato. Everybody thinks their potato salad
coming
is
and
the
be
best.
like, dude, I need that recipe. I can't stop eating this tater salad.
Yeah. All right. So let's let Dr. Burks vaguely outline to you what this plan entails.
So phase 1 begins.
Let's turn on this speaker so you can hear Dr. Burks, whose scarf game is so high. She must have 1,000 of them, and they're all beautiful, and she wears them impeccably. And she'll be always known as the scarf lady.
She's probably got a bunch of hickeys to hide.
No, I think she just knows that it's a really good. It's not going. My speakers. Which one do I want? It's not here.
It's not there. It's not on. It
I
probably
just
needs to be
turned it on.
charged.
Okay, let's try again. Let's try this again.
You've got another plug there in that laptop. That's the old one. Where's your new one?
Oh, that's Mom's new one. Actually, I'm going to try to go back to the old one.
Oh, okay. Good for you.
That is not my laptop.
Strawberry says I can't stand her voice.
Sorry, got 4 minutes with her. Let's try this again.
Give it a second.
No,
it'll go.
It's not going.
No, it's coming out of there. Just wait for it.
No, it's not. It's not coming. It's one of those things where it's
try
not
it again. Is your Bluetooth connected to it?
I'm sure it is. No, what I was going to say is turn on the TV so we can at least get it going.
Okay. That's not a scarf. What are you trying to say? Ooh, I just turned the TV off. What are you trying to say that it is, Matt Spurs? It's not a scarf, then what is it?
Turn the TV back on.
I'm turning it on. I'm waiting. It's not going. I turned it off. And now it's literally... I turned the TV off.
Are you serious?
Here she is. Now, calm down.
Volume. People can hear.
Whoa, that's really high. So you just need to switch it to the TV.
Thank you very much.
Just switch it to the TV. You need to switch the volume to the TV.
Hang on. No, it's not.
And you're not connected to the Bluetooth, by the way.
Okay, I know, but I can... I love my life. It's not there.
Jim West says, glad the coppers got fresh guidance so things like driving to the countryside no longer questioned.
Continuing to shelter in place.
It's not
in the UK.
It's not available.
That those that first go out into the public are not those that are most vulnerable to bad outcomes in this disease. And then ensuring that we continue to do 6
Just let them listen. They can listen to her. They don't have to see her.
Physical distancing in public spaces, continuing to avoid large gatherings, and all non-essential travel. For the employers, next slide.
Again, if a vulnerable population needs to return to work and cannot be teleworking, there should be special accommodations for all vulnerable populations, as well as options for teleworking. We believe every employee should encourage work return in phases from 20% or 25% to 40% to 50%. And again, minimize all non-essential travel. Phase 1 continued. Next slide. If the schools are already closed, they should remain closed. All visits to senior living facilities and hospitals should continue to be prohibited. Large venues, including sit-down dining, can only be operated under strict physical distancing protocols and maintaining those 6 feet. Gyms could open if they, again, could adhere to strict physical distancing, and elective surgeries can resume on an outpatient basis. Again, we're asking for all vulnerable individuals shelter in place. We did not put a timeline on any of the phases. We want the governors, with the data that they have, community by community, to be setting up those timelines. Again, we're asking for the public to continue to maximize physical distance. However, we increased social settings to be able to now have 50 individuals, and non-essential travel can resume. Next slide. This is for the employers. We still would like to encourage telework. And the common areas should remain closed or be physically distanced. All non-essential travel for employees can resume. And then again, special accommodations for vulnerable. Next slide. This should be a relief to many of households that have small children. Schools, daycares, and camps can reopen in phase 2. Visits to senior living facilities, however, should remain in hospitals prohibited. Large venues can operate, but solely under moderate physical distancing, and elective surgeries can resume on an outpatient and inpatient basis. 3. And so phase 3, I won't go through in detail, is essentially returning to our new normal with all of what we talked about through all phases, continuing the good hygiene practices, continuing the respect for spaces between individuals, because we know that we still have an issue with asymptomatic spread. I do believe with this plan that we're both confronting the issue of finding symptomatic individuals through our networks with early alert, as well as those who come and present to different hospitals and emergency room with testing and contact tracing, but critically have put in place what we believe is a safety net through asymptomatic sentinel surveillance that is centered around our most vulnerable groups between nursing homes and our Native American people and indigenous populations, and our inner city groups that we know may be in multi-generational households and of unique risk.
All right, so let me break that down a little bit more for you. There's 3 phases for this program and how each state can reopen. So President Donald Trump announced Thursday at the White House a new set of guidelines created by the Coronavirus Task Force to reopen states in the country. Each state, Dr. Deborah Birx explained, would be required to set up screening and testing sites and be able to trace contacts of patients testing positive for the virus. So this is not just a free-for-all. You've got to be able to, they want contact tracing.
Which is fascinating to me because they kind of gave up on that for the last month and a half.
So I was listening to the 5 before we went live, and Jesse Waters was giving some numbers, and I'm going to kind of ballpark them here. New York is not North Dakota.
Exactly.
And some of these states, New York has over 250,000 cases. New Jersey has 75,000 cases. Combined, they have 300,000 cases.
That's insane.
Okay? North Dakota has 100 or something. Or 300. It's in the hundreds, right?
Oh my gosh.
Cases.
Yeah.
So to say that you should treat North Dakota or Wyoming or something like that the same as the East Coast, which have thousands of cases, even Massachusetts has thousands of cases, but Vermont, right, still in that same 13 original colonies, has very few cases. Okay, so should they all? That's why there are phases, and that's why Trump's like, you've got to go with the governors. I think that what they have decided, they have broken this down county by county. Pence says, and our particular region, I have a little infograph for you. We've got, I guess, 7 states: Indiana, Michigan, Ohio. They're all going to do kind of the same thing together. They're coordinating. I think it's very interesting that you do see the coordination of certain states coming together. I love that we're seeing states make decisions. I absolutely love, because that is the way our country was designed. Right. And this is the first time in the past 100 years, for sure, that you see the states, I have goosebumps, exhibiting their country-like status. The United States is supposed to be country-like. Country, the states should have a country-like status. They're not countries. We are one country, right? But we are a country of little, very individualistic, with a lot of power. Most of your power should be given to the states.
Yeah.
Almost all of it. The Constitution really points to that. Like, states' power, because the smaller the government, the more you and I have input into our lives, which is what the Founding Fathers thought so vitally important to the founding of this country, was that the individual make their own laws, or make the laws, and that they come together. So let me go over a couple more of these. They would need to have the ability to also screen for asymptomatic cases in places serving vulnerable and older Americans in places like nursing homes. I'm not sure where it was. I have to bring it up. It was the nursing home that had 17 dead bodies in it.
When?
This week.
Oh, wow.
It's found this week. It just kind of a really sad situation, stacked up in the morgue. And you're finding that in a lot of these cases, you'll get like 80 deaths and 40 of them are from the one nursing home or something like that. Where, quite honestly, and I do, not on this show, but I rag on nursing homes all the time because I've seen the effects of them. Yeah. One of the major reasons we came back here after a bike trip was to take care of my grandma and my uncle, to keep my grandma out of a nursing home. These nursing homes, they're not just breeding grounds for petri dishes for viruses, but they're lonely places. We would go visit a lot of our because we worked with a lot of my grandma's elderly friends who were in their homes. We would help them. We would help clean their windows.
And then as they got older, they would end up in
a nursing home. And then we would visit them. And the halls were just, they would come and roll their little chairs out, and they would sit there with the blank stares. And I remember like seeing some of their pictures. Some of the most beautiful people you've ever met. And then they're just sitting there alone.
It's really hard for me to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard for me because it's terrible. And they have family members that love them. Yeah. But their family members have been taught by society that this is just how it works. This is just the way that we do things.
And many of them didn't need much extra help. My grandma, we were nurses for her.
Yeah.
Like, she needed legit care. That a nursing care, and we had nurses come and teach us what to do. Right. And my grandma did not go to a nursing home. My uncle has not gone to a nursing home because God allowed that for us, and that experience for us taught us that, sometimes it's more important to be with your family. So anyways, nursing homes are just, they're not good places. There may be one in a million. But I've been into almost everyone in Cincinnati. I don't like a one of them. And there's some that are okay. Like, they're like okay, but they're all like virtual reality to me. It's not a real place. It's not a real home. It's not a real home.
Well, and I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but we never talk about this on our show. I think that we're missing the Walton type atmosphere. If your family lives with you multi-generationally, like on a farm, and you've got a grandparent's house or something like that, it would take like extreme illness before they actually had to go to a nursing home or something like that. Okay. And right now we get to the point where if they just can't care for themselves and you can't be going there multiple times a day, they go to a nursing home.
And the only reason
it's this disparity.
They go to nursing homes is 2 reasons. They don't like their parents, or, man alive, a lot of people hate their parents. I know them. I know them personally.
Yeah.
And secondly, they're working. Right. And 100 years ago, you were all just like on a farm. 50 years ago,
right,
you could take care of family members. Mm-hmm. You know, you got Aunt B there taking care of the younger ones, and it's just that's the way it should be. Life should be. But we have these giant mansions of homes, and then we go and visit. You
shouldn't have to go and visit your grandparents if you have the ability to have them live with you, and they are amicable to that. Then you should.
Right. Yeah. All right, so rabbit trail there. They would need to have the ability to also screen for asymptomatic. Oh, yeah. The state would have to have a sufficient supply of medical protection equipment for doctors and medical professionals and be equipped for a surge in ICU capacity in case it happened. You see an outbreak all of a sudden, you got to be ready for it.
Exactly.
If each state could meet those core responsibilities, they could enter into a phase 1 opening. Okay, with all those things, you can enter the phase 1. And here is phase 1. The vulnerable, the elderly have to stay at home still. When in public, you're supposed to still social distance. So we're all in phase 1. Okay, and minimize non-essential travel. We're all in phase 1 now. Now states could move out of phase 1 rather quickly. Yeah. And some are. Okay.
Right.
Public organizations such as schools should remain closed in phase 1, as well as prohibiting visits to senior living facilities. Schools currently closed should remain closed. Large venues, including sit-down dining, can operate. So anybody. So in these phase 1. So let me put it this way. So New York isn't even in phase 1. Okay, they're not there yet. Okay. Right. But somebody like Ohio, we're in a phase 1. I don't know if we are or not. But I would think that we are. Right. But it just depends. Do we have enough equipment? I don't know. I have some news here from Mike DeWine. Large venues, including sit-down dining, can operate under strict physical distancing protocols. Honestly, a lot of these, they don't really want to start till May 1st. I know that our phase 1 will probably start May 1st under Mike DeWine is what he said. Right. Gyms can open if they can adhere to strict social distancing. I don't know, and sanitation protocols. I don't know about that. I have spent many hours in a gym. The respiratory droplets that come out of your mouth, you're literally breathing heavy, snot's flowing.
We have
sweat. It's
county in California that said you can't sing or blow wind instruments for church because of the droplets, and yet they're going to let people back in gyms.
I would think that gyms honestly are more of a petri dish than an outdoor sport. Yeah, you know what I mean? Okay, everybody wash your hands, but we can play baseball. Right. If we sanitize the baseball.
I think they should open up outdoor gyms that have like a cover over them. Like, you remember when we go to camp and they would have these big
outdoor gyms.
Yeah, like, well, not just outdoor gyms, but, you know, there was like a basketball hoop, like Sugar Creek. You know, they got the big cover and stuff. Like, just put all your equipment down in there.
And open everybody air, wipe it down with
wipe it down. That's the only way this is going to work. Yeah. Jim West says, gyms look a no-go to me, really.
Yeah. Elective surgeries can resume on an outpatient basis. Employers should continue. Well, Dr. Burks' face was like, gyms? I mean, even
she might not have been on board on that one.
It's like gross, like sweaty gross. Like, why would you open gyms? Like, you need exercise. Guess what? You can go outside. Open up the outside.
Okay, so what do you do at a gym that you cannot do at home?
Nothing.
I mean, seriously, you don't have weights at home? Get some canned goods. Okay, you can't go running outside. These people are addicted to treadmills. You don't own a real bicycle.
Right.
I mean, seriously, you can't climb your own steps.
I honestly think that gyms would be the last thing that would be needing to be opened.
No.
You know what I mean?
But we can have people get fat. We can't have people get corona fat here.
Go outside.
America. Go outside.
All
right. Stop banning parks and stuff.
So employers should continue to allow their employees to telework if possible and send employees back to work in phases. Encourage telework whenever possible. Return to work in phases, blah, blah, blah.
I think they should continue to encourage telework forever.
Yeah. Phase 2, Burks explained, would allow some organizations such as schools and summer camps to reopen. Social settings could rise from under 10 to 50, and non-essential travel could resume. I guess we're kind of all under the non-essential travel. Like, you're not supposed to go to parks. You're not supposed to go on a vacation. You're not supposed to take a trip, you know, if it's non-essential. So non-essential travel would just be like kind of a little bit more basic. So basically still older people are still stuck. Vulnerable individuals continue to shelter in place when in physical distancing. And then phase 2 with work, continue to encourage telework. Close the common areas. Non-essential travel can resume. Consider special accommodations for vulnerable populations. And then in phase 2, schools, daycares, and camps reopen. Visits to senior living facilities and hospitals are still prohibited. Large venues can operate under moderate physical distancing protocols. I don't actually know how you're going to do that in these. Like, why would you need a large venue?
If everybody's 6 feet apart.
If everybody's 6 feet apart.
They won't be.
Like,
they literally won't be. No, I mean, it's literally not going to happen.
And then electric surgeries on inpatient and outpatient. And then phase 3, low risk population should minimize time in crowded spaces, basically. So not every state, not every region is going to do it at the same time. That's clearly obvious. And then you can. They have this outline here and this plan, and you can. Looks so governmental. Everything looks the same. So, and guess what? Let me just tell you something. This is just a guess. All of it's a guess.
Donna Terry says, Jim Cake wins.
The plan to reopen the economy, and the Trump administration proposes that this happens in phases. But exactly when that should happen, they're leaving that up to state leaders like governors. Ian Lee has the details.
America wants to be open.
President Trump released a 3-phased approach to reopening the country.
We are not opening all at once, but one careful step at a time.
The guidelines lay out a gradual opening of businesses as the coronavirus outbreak is beaten back.
This is uncharted water. There may be some setbacks that we may have to pull back a little and then go forward.
President Trump says some states already meet the requirements to start phase 1. Which opens restaurants, gyms, and places of worship.
They will be able to go literally tomorrow, yes.
The guidelines aren't mandatory. In a conference call with all 50 governors, President Trump told them to call their own shots.
It's been confirmed by the president that he will not be interfering with our Stay Home, Stay Healthy initiative.
The president's plan puts much of the onus of testing and tracing on states and employers.
It is the single best tool to inform decisions.
New York Governor.
I just have an aside here. I actually don't hate Andrew Cuomo. Like, I don't mind listening to him. Like, he is very logical in this moment of time. Like, I don't not like him. Like, I don't like him. But I don't not like him.
But here's the deal. If you've ever watched him interact with his brother on air, I can't tell if it's real, but, like, they are very, like, the animosity, like, you feel like they don't like each other. Like, and so it's like, okay, if Chris Cuomo doesn't like his own brother, then maybe there's something about his own brother worth liking. An act. It could be an act. I don't know. I'm going with
you. Italians are pretty good at
just going with you.
We watched some.
You said you do. I'm just saying there's something in him that you said you don't mind listening to.
I know.
I mind listening to Chris Cuomo. Like, I mind it. I hate it. I want to punch him in the face every time I listen to him.
I couldn't stand listening to Obama either.
Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo says the federal government needs to help.
There's no reason why you would have 50 states each trying to figure this out on their own.
17 states have formed 3 regional coalitions to coordinate with one another.
We must get this right. If we don't do it right, the consequences are horrendous.
Ohio's Republican Governor Mike DeWine said it would be disastrous if businesses opened back up too early and coronavirus cases spiked. Ian Lee, CBS News.
So I'm just playing that little clip there because then the rest of it goes on to bash Trump and all the politics of it. So, you know, it wasn't too bad.
So I find this whole thing really interesting because let's take Michigan for an example. Mm-hmm. Trump is leaving this open to the governors, which I believe it is a states' rights issue. Okay. And they elected Gretchen Whitmer. Mm-hmm. So y'all got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You got to take care of it. And they are protesting. They are signing petitions. Mm-hmm. Okay. They're hopefully going to get a handle on this little tyrant witch in Michigan. Okay. So I'm kind of excited to see these guidelines be put in place and then each state enact them. And so it takes all of the pressure off of Trump. It was very wise of him to do this. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because then there's going to be no blame that should be able to go to Trump per se on all of this. And it shouldn't, because each state is individually different on what they need to be doing.
Yeah, so let me just say
I'm sorry if you don't know who your governor is and you didn't think before you voted and you elected a tyrant.
7 states work together to reopen economies.
For a month since businesses closed their doors with no clue as to when or if they'd reopen. Now talks about reopening the country are in full swing, and Kentucky and Indiana are working with nearby states to evaluate the transition. And for the first time, Andy Beshear gave a sketch of what he's thinking.
Late May or June, we hope that there are certainly some things that Kentuckians will be able to be doing again.
But Beshear is still on the side of caution and says it will all depend on the surge. Now a partnership between Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio has 7 states, including Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Illinois.
We are all in very significant coordination to help us not only...
That's very interesting, we all travel to each other's states a lot, though. I mean, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, some very Democrat states there. That's a Democrat there with Mike DeWine in the middle.
Sure that we don't have an additional later spike, but also that one state's contacts don't come into another.
Both Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear and Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb say the status of the virus and the numbers will be extremely telling as to when restrictions will change.
These next few days are very important to us. We want to see this trend hold. We want to see the numbers hold.
Holcomb announced mid-May is when things could change in Indiana.
We want to make sure that we restart in a safe fashion.
Ultimately, the decisions to reopen are still up to each state. But these governors say the partnership will help on the public health side while also benefiting a phased-in approach.
Even in a phased approach, our seniors, the vulnerable populations, are still going to be very, very at risk for this virus.
Beshear plans to provide information tomorrow on who Kentucky is working with and some of the details on where the state stands.
We believe we are still on our upward trajectory. So let's make sure that even though we're talking about things like this, that we're not at halftime at a very close game talking about our game plan for the next plan.
He says the benchmarks are more crucial than any dates as we move towards opening up the economy.
All right, so I just want to give you an idea of what we are going through and what our state is going to do. Let me just go over this. All right, U.S. cases 667,000 cases. Global deaths, this is an interesting number, actually. They're up a little bit. Global deaths, I think a week ago, were 100,000. We're now at 150,000, and that's almost. A 50%. No, we are at 150,000.
Oh, so that's old. Okay.
That's almost a 50% increase. That's kind of crazy. And the U.S. is really testing a lot. An interesting thing that New York, Governor Cuomo wants to go and randomly use the National Guard to randomly test people. I am going to hide. I'm not going to be.
Don't touch me. Because guess what? I don't like it. There's COVID-19 in those tests somehow. Okay? I do not want to be tested.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I'm not getting vaccinated.
Nope. No.
So, our bread lady dropped off bread today, and she tells me that her husband is working on the manufacturing of the rapid COVID-19 tests to get them out like a pregnancy test. Like, so you could just literally, boom, take it at home.
Wow.
He's working on the manufacturing of those.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. All right, so Mike DeWine, we're in Ohio, so I'm going to kind of give you an idea of what's happening here. So others, you might have the same in your state. Plans to start reopening Ohio May 1st. The governor described different policies people could see as the state reopens, such as barriers, workers wearing masks and gloves, and people continue to stay 6 feet apart. Kroger today had one exit and one entrance, and a lot of face masks that when you look at, listen guys, the face masks that are homemade are designed to keep other people safe from you, not you from other people, because unfortunately, even several layers of bandana do not keep viruses from coming in.
I know.
But there's some sort of level of safety that people feel. And there were a lot of men, I noticed, in the grocery store more than normal. There wasn't a lot of people, but there were, like, comparatively, there were a lot of men.
I think what it does do is it helps with the, like you said, it helps with the droplets coming from your face, if you are infected, from getting everywhere. And that is helpful.
So I saw a lot of men with masks. And so I saw the, the construction masks, and I saw just those turtleneck masks, those just like onesie things. Yeah. I saw a man wearing that. I saw several men with the homemade masks that their wives must have made with some specially made loops.
Right.
So what kind of actually cheered my heart is that people actually want to do the right thing. And when given opportunity, Americans love to be industrious. So there's all different kinds of masks out there, and a lot of sewers are out there just wanting to make things happen.
Well, our bread lady that was dropping off the bread, she's at home. She said 2 days a week she's making masks.
Okay. Honestly, what the masks are probably the best for is to wear over a disposable one.
Well, you're supposed to be able to put a coffee filter in there.
Yeah, they're the best. Yeah, no, if you have a coffee filter in there, that's amazing. Like that's really good. That's really hard to breathe too. So.
But I guess for me, when I think about the masks, because like she was talking to me, and then when we were far enough apart, she took the mask off, and so that I could actually hear her and understand her. But with that constant putting the mask on and off of your face, so again, once again, it will stop your spread. But if you are in an area and that droplet or whatever gets on your mask and you're putting it up and down, you're going to get it.
Right.
So it's really not, in my humble opinion, and I am not a professional, going to protect you. It's going to protect, and I'm kind of hoping that doesn't get out. You know why? Because I don't want people looking at me, judging me, going like, you're spreading coronavirus. I'd rather people just think the mask is just to protect themselves. Because then it's like, oh, I'm not worried about myself. Because then I don't want to seem like I'm just like some really bad, awful person.
With them put the mask right under their chin?
Why do they do that?
Because guess what? If you're around somebody who's had it and it gets on your surface of your mask, it's right there and you're breathing it in, you're touching it, you're feeling it. If you are going to wear a mask out in public, you need to be careful how you take it off.
Well, in my opinion, here's the deal. If I was going to go the mask route, and I'm not saying that we never will, I don't think it's going to get that bad here in Ohio for us. Okay, if I lived in New York, I would probably be wearing one when I went out in public. I would have a set of masks. I would have about 10 of them. And when I went out in public, I would wear it the entire time. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't adjust it. I wouldn't pull it down. Then when I got home, I would take it and I would very carefully take it off, okay, and put it directly in water with detergent. And then I would wash it and sanitize it and wash my hands thoroughly. But no one is doing that. They're just messing all with these things and they're not even thinking.
But the people who are comparing us to the Asian people who wear the masks, they don't wear homemade masks. They wear
disposable ones.
They wear the high, like there's charts out there for how much. Yeah. I mean, homemade masks are like 10%.
I know.
Compared to
you need that coffee filter in there, honestly.
Yeah. All right. So,
but you need to do what you feel the most comfortable with.
The governor said he expects customers will enforce safety measures at reopened businesses and stay away from places they don't feel safe. Our governor has given Ohioans a lot of leeway to make their own decisions, and I appreciate that. Even in 2 weeks, we will have to keep watching. The goal is to protect employees and protect customers of retail stores that have reopened. And we should continue to assume everyone we meet is carrying the virus. Many people have the virus but are not aware of it, he said. Ohio doesn't really have, I mean, it's 9,000 cases, 418 deaths, not a whole lot, actually.
Now, and I'm sure you're going to get to this further in the show, but it is worth noting that hospitals are, a lot of times, not doing their due diligence or testing deaths and labeling them as COVID-19 deaths just if they kind of want to presume or assume it, because they do get more funding the more COVID-19 deaths that they have.
Bill de Blasio just added a bunch just to get more funding that way. It's kind of bad.
It's wrong, and they should not be doing that.
But like I said about the potato salad analogy, this plan is vague because he says, like, we're at April 17th.
Right.
He's saying, and everybody's saying, we're going to start opening on May 1st, but he says, but he did not lay out a specific plan. So there's still no plan. Like, if you're trying to reopen your business, you need a plan, I would think, a couple weeks ahead of time. But no, it's just going to be kind of just thrown into deep water there. that resuming non-essential medical procedures could be part of the earlier phases, while concerts, county fairs, and athletic events could be in later phases. I know he said something about, I know you've been raising that goat out for a while and you want to be able to show it. And there's got to be a way to make that happen. You're probably not going to have fairs this summer. You're probably going to have kids showing to judges in a confined area and not to people.
Right.
For sure.
Donna Terry says, my husband has not been outside since it started. Actually, he's not come out of his man cave. I sort of miss him. Kelly says, I put HIPAA liners in the masks that I made, aka ones for allergies and viruses. I'm behind that for sure.
Wow, that will work. That will go far. Phase 1 included recommending strict social distancing, avoiding gatherings with more than 10 people, and discouraging non-essential travel. And he didn't actually lay it out. There's a infograph, but there's no links to it yet.
Yeah, so I think I understand what you're saying. You're saying that there's no actual plan. Like, okay, if you have a restaurant business, here are the steps that you need to take. Here is how you would incorporate the social distancing. This is how you would incorporate the sanitization,
there's nothing.
Type deals. Because I'm like, okay, sit-down restaurants can open, but people have to be 6 feet apart. Is that each table has to be 6 feet apart? Because if you're sitting at a table, you cannot sit 6 feet away from the person that you are there with at a table. I mean, we're all going to look like a bunch of kings where you yell at the other end, hey, my dear, come down for dinner. We have a conversation from 20 feet apart. I mean, this is not
That's why I said there's a plan, but it's
so vague. And then, hang on a second, because...
Do I look fat in these jeans? Mm-mm.
A waitress, in order to be 6 feet away from the table that she's taking the order from, her butt's probably going to be backing up against the table that is 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
And so the sit-down restaurant thing with maintaining social distancing guidelines is impossible. Like, it's not going to work.
And imagine,
you're either going to just have to say, listen, you're opening up restaurants and put a sign out front that say, enter at your own risk. Honestly, that's it. That's it. But once again,
what kind of hazard pay do you give to waiters and waitresses?
I know.
And here's the thing: we've got a fancy, very famous restaurant around here. It's called Montgomery Inn Boathouse. It's really not on a boat, but it's on the river.
The river.
And we went to the specific restaurant for my birthday last year or the year before.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
And so you're going to stand and I'm
no, my chair, I feel lower than you.
And I was shocked at how many people that they put inside this building. It felt crammed. It didn't feel like a nice restaurant. If I'm going to spend and walk away, with a bill that's $100,
It was more than that for 4 people.
Well, whatever it was. I would like it to be a nice, calming experience. But basically they were like, here... Eat your and they don't do big plates anymore. Eat your tiny plate of food, and
get out of here with a tiny plate of food.
And so many people.
Eat your tiny plate of food.
All right, so Donald Trump tweet storm rips Democrats, calls to liberate states, and here's where he's playing 20D chess. It's so funny. Okay, so after we covered the Michigan, rally,
it was a protest.
Donald Trump sent out some weird tweets today. Liberate Minnesota, liberate Michigan, liberate Virginia. The states have to step up their testing. China has just announced a doubling in the number of their deaths from the invisible enemy. It is far higher than that and far higher than the U.S. Not even close. Biden and Obama were a disaster in handling the H1N1 swine flu. Polling at the time showed disastrous approval numbers. 17,000 people died unnecessarily and through incompetence. Also, don't forget their $5 billion Obamacare website that should have cost close to nothing. Governor Cuomo should spend more time doing and less time complaining. Get out there and get the job done. Stop talking. We built you thousands of hospital beds that you didn't need or use, gave large numbers of ventilators that you should have had, and helped you with testing that you should be doing. We have given New York far more money, help, and equipment than any other state by far. And these great men and women who did the job never hear you say thanks. Your numbers are not good. Less talk and more action. Liberate Virginia and save your Second Amendment. It is under siege. Liberate Michigan. Liberate Minnesota.
Oh my gosh.
So these are all Democrat-run states. And so I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to get across here because and actually Whitmer in Michigan had decided, well, after her super lockdown where you could buy weed but not seed, and lottery tickets, but not a garden shovel. She said that she's going to start opening on May 1st because she's with the 7 other, our little cohort, our little gang.
Or
gang of 7.
The protesting was effective.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people signing up to have her removed.
Yeah.
So that's also a threat as well. So if she is changing her tunes, then I think that that's a good thing. And well done on you, Michiganders.
All right. So Texas, if you're in the Lone Star State, you are reopening. However, if you're a child, good for you. Schools are closed for the end of the year.
Hot dog!
Texas Governor Greg Abbott appears to be leading the charge in the grand reopening of America, detailing plans to reopen the Lone Star State during a press conference on Friday. A lot of these reopenings are a little bit of a dud because they sound like...
Sand?
They
sand?
They sound so like, reopening! Not really, but hey... Right?
It's literally like having a grand reopening on on like your store or something like that, and then you say, but like one customer per 10 minutes or something. I mean, It's like, wait, where's the big celebration?
But we didn't remodel anything.
We didn't do anything.
Yeah, we closed overnight.
And we're missing a lot of products.
Yeah.
Somebody said, so we watched, we're in the middle of watching that McMillions series. We started watching it last night because HBO had their little free thing on there, whatever. But anyhow, somebody had said, I don't know who I saw in my feed today, said that they went to McDonald's and there were certain things on the menu that they couldn't order, and the people there were like, I wonder, the people in the store, like the manager said, I'm not even sure if any of these items are ever going to come back because they're not available. And so one thing that we haven't talked about in probably a couple of weeks is the supply chain and things that... Oh yeah, for sure. It's not just China though. It's the whole world round where everyone has stopped. So in the beginning it was just all China stopped. But like we keep talking about, the entire world has come to a stop, just like our prophecies. And so everybody that produces things that we consume here in the United States is not producing they are not producing those items. And the fact that the manager said, I'm not even sure if these things are going to even come back.
So Chinese
on the menu.
Now, this is really scary because a couple of years ago, Smithfield Farms was bought out by China.
Do not ever eat a Smithfield meat product ever.
But here's the thing. Not only could they're shutting down some of their factories. Chinese-owned Smithfield Foods shutters 2 more meat processing plants in Missouri and Wisconsin.
Good.
After massive coronavirus outbreak closed South Dakota factory.
Get it shut down.
But, and I don't like it, but I don't like the factory farms. However, that's where a lot of people get their food. And
it's true.
And I do want you guys to be able to get it from...
farmers, your local farmers. Yeah. Wyoming just passed the law that you can get cuts of meat.
Is the worst.
Okay, this is a huge deal that you can buy cuts of meat from your local farmer. Oh. They don't have to be USDA stamped. That's a very big deal. So I'm hoping that every state will roll out this. Okay. It would be absolutely fantastic if we saw every state do this. Just read from below the little advertisement.
I'm trying to actually get it to go. Let's see. Smithfield announced the closures of packing plants in Wisconsin and Missouri Wednesday, days after Sioux Falls, South Dakota plant was indefinitely shuttered. Sioux Falls plant, where 518 employees and 120 of their family members have tested positive for coronavirus. 515 employees and 120 of their family members at one plant. 515. That's one plant. Why do they have that many employees?
That's a very good question. Okay, so hang on. Somebody here in the chat says, not good. They are cutting off food supplies. Local farmers can't feed the cities. I disagree. But it has to go. It shouldn't be a complete, like, it's unfortunate, I guess I should say, that it's a complete shutdown because local farmers can feed the cities.
If we're allowed to butcher for you.
Exactly. It's the regulations that keep us from feeding the cities.
Right. Smithfield said in a statement that a small number of employees at both the other plants had tested positive for the virus. And it looks like here, shelves in Atlanta have been stripped bare last month after... Oh, that was panic buying because, like, everything is on the shelves except for toilet paper here in the United States.
We're still missing that toilet paper,
and I honestly, the only reason that has to be is because, like, over half of the people go to the bathroom using industrial toilet paper at work or school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why people need it so much at home.
Right.
Because, like, millions of people are not at work. Like, even if you have a job, you're working from home. Right. Millions of people. So it's a different kind of toilet paper. And that's why it's hard to get. People are not hoarding it. You know what I mean? They're just trying to get a hold of it. They need to make the industrial paper available at the stores, but they don't. It's a whole
supply chain issue. Right. And that's just the thing. These supply chains shouldn't exist, because when you look at a chain, you see it comes from here. It's the link, right? That's what a chain is. Mm-hmm. Our supply chains should be much, much smaller. Okay, and in the United States, they should all be contained within the United States, except for things that are very, very specialized that you only can get from other countries. Okay, but we've got plenty of trees in the United States. I'm literally cleaning out my neighbor's property. Okay, if toilet paper is made from trees, I can't even tell you how much toilet paper could come from that property, but it's all going to go probably to create mulch. All right, so it's a matter of your supply chain being like maybe 3 or 4 links long instead of 100 and coming from overseas.
Yeah, I guess the Sioux Falls plant employs 3,700 workers.
What? Oh man, that's just so wrong.
Supplying Americans with 130 million servings of food per week.
And here is a beautiful thing. When you eat from home, and when, honestly, guys, and I know you love your restaurants and you love eating out and you love all this stuff, right? I don't want it to return. I want the entire world to shift, because there is so much food waste in the restaurant business. When you cook at home, there is next to no waste, okay? Because you have leftovers, okay? But these restaurants, they throw out so much food. Grocery stores throw out so much food. But I can guarantee you that most farmers, if they're selling at a farmer's market and they actually raise like hogs at home, or at least have a compost at home, the food goes back into the earth or back into a hog and gets reused. So the waste isn't actual waste. Whereas at these grocery stores, at the restaurants, it doesn't make any sense. We have starving people and yet all this food gets thrown away. And so the system itself is wrong and corrupt, and it should not come back
so in
the
Texas,
way that it was.
In Texas, elective surgeries, retails to resume operations under a retail to go model, and then see the reopening of state parks and beyond. I would think the state parks would be a great place, but they could be overrun pretty quickly with people. Abbott is issuing 3 executive orders outlining moves to reopen the state just one day after President Trump provided federal guidelines. Abbott outlined the duties of the strike force to open Texas, a team of nationally recognized medical experts and private and public leaders. And the team will gather information, outline same practices businesses should use. So they haven't yet. Abbott said the state will reopen in a methodical phase or approach. Today, Texas has plenty of hospital capacity. We have a solid supply chain of PPE, and many of our doctors and nurses have patients who desperately need medical treatment. And that's really, everybody should be allowed to do the outpatient, because a lot of people need weird, like, horrible things.
One of our best friends,
a collapsed lung needs to be.
One of our best friends has a torn, like, knee that is just killing him, and he was supposed to have an operation, I want to say, like, last month, and they canceled it.
So, like, elective surgeries, all non-COVID, it makes no sense to say all non-COVID stuff has to be put off, because, like, why would you kill other people who need medical treatment? Like, why are the COVID people more important? That doesn't make sense, you know? All right, so, It is time to allow those doctors to actually get back to work. Effective April 22nd, current restrictions on procedures will be loosened, allowing doctors to diagnose and treat certain medical conditions without seeking exceptions, such as diagnostic tests for suspected cancer. He also issued an executive order focusing on the retail sector, noting that many retailers have been selling products without customers going into stores and utilizing pickup. Because we've seen this model works, we believe that all stores in Texas should be able to operate retail to go beginning next Friday. So you can't go into the stores, but all stores will be open in Texas, retail to go.
So like you bring it out of the store.
You have to order online.
But what if stores like small mom and pop shops don't have anything like, it's like you go to an antique store. You don't know that you need it till you see it.
I know. Then they really can't operate.
I know.
From the window maybe? I don't know.
Window shopping. Yeah, you can have all these faces smudged against the window. I want to address really quickly before
state parks will be opened.
Keep moving on while you're still talking about Texas. KSG on Facebook is disappointed that the schools aren't opening before May. And I want to address, if you're watching our channel for the first time, maybe you don't understand why we're so adamant against the public school system. It indoctrinates kids, it rips them away from their parents, and they use it mostly for a babysitting service. And it, like you said, the word that you got was the nucleus of the home, the family nucleus. So it's a tight unit that we are seeing being birthed once again out of this situation.
And if you're going by the majority of kids, the majority of kids are actually doing just fine.
They're doing better at home.
Plenty of kids who are, they're getting their schoolwork done, they're having fun outside,
and they have so much more time throughout the day because the schooling doesn't take as long as it does to
they're enjoying their siblings.
Get ready. Yeah, exactly.
So there are a lot of bright sides to this that I think unfortunately people don't like to.
Like we mentioned the other day, I truly believe that a good step down program for this would be to highly encourage and request those families that could continue to teleschool, remote education, to do so in perpetuity, forever. For always, okay? And this actually wouldn't be a bad thing, even as a lefty liberal, because they would still get their $15,000 a year funding from, well, I think it's 10 from the federal government, like 5 locally. That's an average, okay? It costs $15,000 on average around the United States per year to educate one child. They would still get all that funding if they were using the public school, which I still disagree with, but it's a step down. Public school education.
And those who didn't, we talk about this all the time.
They would save so much money.
So if you've got maybe even 10% of the students, you can social distance.
Yeah.
You can put, 2 kids per classroom.
Let's say a teacher is in the classroom and she's got 2 or 3 students and the rest of them she does...
and they're online.
Online. Okay. It's ingenious. But they don't want to do it because they understand that it's not just the curriculum that helps them control your child and their minds.
Face-to-face.
It's face-to-face so that they can manipulate, and they understand the Lord of the Flies type scenario that has gone so far from the one-room schoolhouse where you had multiple ages and grades together that created a strong character within someone. When you just get all the same age together, no one has to help the younger kids, no one learns from the older kids, all of that. It's just it's a recipe for disaster, which is why our country is the way that it is today.
I bet a lot of these kids will come out smarter as a result.
100%. 100%. Because when you don't have all the stress of thinking about all of these other things that happen.
A lot of people are telecommuting or they're working from home. So yesterday we are clearing brush up because we don't have a job right now, and a handful of people there didn't have a job, and kids were there because they weren't in school and they were learning from us.
It felt so very natural.
You had a 14-year-old running a chainsaw like a mad fiend, but really being really good at it. And his mom was like, my other kids are really good at getting their schoolwork done. He's not, but he knows how to operate the chainsaws, operate the tractor. I mean, these are life skills that he's learning. He's actually learning the stuff in school. Like, right. She said something about science and, fulcrums and pulleys and stuff. Like, you can read it in a book or you can live it and then you know it. And so, like, I just want to give kids a chance and parents a chance to feel something different and to do something different, and maybe what we have been taught and brainwashed into being is not the way it has to be.
John Taylor Gatto had said that the Pavlov's dogs
ringing the bell
throughout the day is not, and I can't get over the clip that I hear him say, like, whose idea was it to take kids that are energetic and have all this, like, to just sit them in a chair and make them sit there for 8 hours a day and just drone information into them? That does not create a healthy human being. That is not the way that we were meant to live.
Well, and then one of her sons, I have a friend with 3 sons, a 3rd grade, 6th grader, and a 14-year-old. And the 6th grader FaceTimes with a friend from school, and they do all their schoolwork together. And you're going to learn it more because when you're learning with somebody else, and it's not cheating because you're doing it together. You're learning together. Well, what do you think about this answer? Well, I think this is the answer. And you do it together.
It's creating it actually builds you up. And it's creating a desire for freedoms within children.
Is it more important
this is so
for
healthy.
you to come up with the answer and to know it, or to come up with the answer yourself?
Exactly. Stuart the Brit says, I was working on building sites from 13 years old. I loved it.
Exactly.
So when we talk about the schools not opening, I don't want the schools to open. I understand that there are underprivileged kids. And I believe in the long term, we need to have churches that have schools.
But in the short term, why can't those kids
just go back to the school and leave everybody else that is doing well at home?
There's no way you're gonna keep 30 kids in a classroom to social distance.
Well, I don't think that classrooms are 30 kids anymore.
Well, I don't care. 20.
When we were kids, they were
30 kids when I was a kid. And guys, I remember it was a hard time to get a bathroom pass, and they want you, if you touch your face,
to wash their hands all the time.
So you really have to do it on a smaller scale. So
KSG says that their kids go to a church school. That's awesome.
So parks are going to be opened, but to reduce transmission, visitors must wear masks. That's no fun. So it sounds like a
park and you've got like a mask on your face.
It sounds like a grand reopening, but it's kind of like not awesome. Parks will also not allow gatherings of groups larger than 5, and you have to stay 6 feet away from people. 6 feet away from people who are not your family, I guess if you you can't bring more than your family, I guess. As for schools, officials determined it would be unsafe to allow kids to gather for the foreseeable future. Because of that, they remain closed for the remainder of the year. Teachers are allowed to go into the classrooms for administrative duties, video conferences, or to clean up the classrooms.
That's great. Do it. Do that. I'm so down for that. Sandra said I had 50 kids in my class.
Holy cow. That's too
like
many.
You were in a class of 50 kids, or you were a teacher of 50 kids. Because if you were a teacher of 50 kids, man, I hope you got like awards on your wall.
So Abbott has these plans, and everybody's like, "Yay, go Texas!" And it's like, okay, go Texas.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go to a park without a mask. At least I can go to parks still in Ohio, and I don't need a mask.
The ones that are open.
If they start demanding me to wear a mask at a park, I will revolt. I'm not one. Here's the thing: I'm going to go to a park. I will stay 6 feet away, but the sun, I want it on my face. And you know why I want it on my face? Because even Yahoo News.
Well, the fresh air kills the viruses.
Here we go. Sunlight destroys virus quickly. New government. I'm so glad the government came out and tested this for us.
That must be official then, if it's.
But experts say pandemic could last through the summer. So, because we're in buildings so much. Preliminary results from government lab experience show that the coronavirus does not survive long in high temperatures and high humidity, and is quickly destroyed by sunlight. Quickly destroyed, and so I encourage you, if you go out and you think you might be exposed to it, to hang your clothes outside in the sun. I put my mail in a corner on the porch in the sun. Simple, right? Providing evidence from controlled tests of what scientists believed but had not proved to be true. Hallelujah. A briefing on the preliminary results marked for official use only. Why couldn't they? Why? Like, cannot be classified. Sun kill virus. Unclassified.
Well, like Kansas pointed out, they knew it back with tuberculosis.
Offers hope that summertime may offer conditions less hospitable for the virus, though experts caution it will by no means eliminate or even necessarily decrease new cases of COVID-19. The results, however, do add an important piece of knowledge that the White House science advisors have been seeking as they scramble to respond to the pandemic. The study found that the risk of transmission from surfaces outdoors is lower during the daylight, and under higher temperature and humidity conditions, sunlight destroys the virus quickly.
That's awesome.
While they may provide some good news about the outlook for outdoor activities, the Department of Homeland Security briefing on the results cautions that enclosed areas with low humidity, such as airplane cabins, may require additional care to minimize risk of transmission.
So this is kind of like a government study that came out that says plants grow well in the sun and with water. Or The government has decided that the sky is blue, and it is official that the sky is blue. Like, I mean, it's like common sense stuff. Everybody knows that it is healthier for you to be outside in the sun.
While the DHS describes the results as preliminary, they may eventually make their way into scientific recommendations. Outdoor daytime environments are lower risk for transmission.
What scientific recommendations? Because I could probably open up a medical journal from like 70 years ago and it would say the same thing. Get out in the sun. Get some fresh air. Unbelievable. This is the Secret Garden all over again. Okay, where the kid that thinks that he has a hump on his back stays in and he closes the, the sun off and the curtains. And then the girl comes in and she like wheels him out into the garden, into the sun, touching the dirt. And then he starts walking. There's no hump on his back and life is awesome.
However, to the reverse of this, the other side,
how's there a reverse?
Navy reports alarming stealth transmission rate. 60% infected carrier crew are symptom-free. So it spreads really crazy when you're underwater.
So that's not the opposite. That's the same thing. When you're enclosed, it's worse.
That's what I mean. So
yeah.
here's worse.
Continuing
on. An extremely worrisome development signaling the coronavirus peak in the United States could last longer than expected. The U.S. Navy has found that most COVID-19 cases aboard the virus-stricken aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt are among sailors who are asymptomatic. Sweeping tests of the entire crew of the coronavirus-stricken U.S. carrier have revealed a clue. The majority of the positive cases so far are among sailors who don't have any symptoms. This suggests the virus could be spreading more frequently by stealth mode in the broader population, with many more people than is known walking around with the disease unawares. So, and I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, but that means the death rate is much lower. And I would say yes, but it doesn't matter. Because if you have 30,000 people dead with 60 million people infected, and let's say you only have, I don't want to mess with your head on the numbers, but if you're comparing the flu at like 0.1, but like less people get the flu.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you're still with the same amount of people dead, and you might not be at 3 or 10%. You know what I mean? Like, those numbers in Italy were getting really high.
This whole percentage thing it really does bother me when it says the death rate is such and such a percent.
Yeah.
Okay? Every life matters. And it boils down to common sense.
Right.
And I will say it. I've said it a million times. I've said it a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay? Since we talked to our friend Ashley in New York. Okay? She is getting text messages daily. Her Facebook feed is full of people who have family members that are dying or very, very, very sick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, for those of you that want to say this whole thing isn't worse than the flu, it has the same amount of deaths as the flu, yada, 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 okay? She doesn't normally get text messages constantly at this amount of rate where everyone that she knows has somebody in their personal life that is dropping like a fly every single day from the flu. Right. So if it's the same as the flu, then why are people dying? And she's hearing about it every single day. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. This is what I wanted to... This is what I'm... kind of the numbers that you want to see. You have in New York, I think, 250,000, almost 225... over 200,000 confirmed cases. My guess is, with that many confirmed cases, you probably have confirmed cases in the millions. I think...
You mean unconfirmed cases?
Unconfirmed cases and asymptomatic, because that's what we keep seeing among, like, in like Wuhan and stuff like that. Like, that's my personal opinion, that this virus spreads and it becomes more deadly the more people have it.
Right.
So the death rate is not 3, 6, 8%. No, it is lower, but that's because it becomes more dangerous the more people have it. And coronavirus, in New York, 21 teachers among 50 New York City education employees dead of coronavirus.
Meaning there were 50 education employees that died. 21 of them were teachers.
In the past month or so.
And you don't normally have that many people working at the New York City education system dying like that all the time, or they would not have an education system.
22 paraprofessionals, 21 are teachers, 2 administrators. Like, you're not going to lose 2 administrators a year. Or you know what I mean, to death.
So Mike Whitney makes a point. We're not trying to say that this should be applied to the rest of the United States. Right. What we're trying to say is that in these outbreak areas, it is very real and it is very scary for them.
Right.
And I get upset at people that are trying to downplay it just because it isn't happening like that in their area. They're trying to say that it's not happening like that in the outbreak areas either, and that they're just making up these deaths and faking it and just applying COVID-19 deaths to just regular deaths.
And this is what really threw me for a loop. You had Dr. Oz on Sean Hannity, and you had Dr. Phil on Laura Ingraham. What is going on with Fox News? If you're watching Fox News, maybe just turn it off for a while, because you guys watch us, because I feel like we're a good way to filter this information.
And we have a balance.
But do what you got to do. But just kind of be led by the Holy Spirit, because what you have to recognize is that every single, and I said this to a friend who was like, I'm so confused. They want to reopen. Sure. They want to reopen. My friend's post was like, they want to reopen the economy, but basically we were at Pearl Harbor just a week ago.
So what's up?
So why am I so confused? And everyone is so confused. Okay? So Michelle is going to bring up my response, which I just felt like led by the Holy Spirit to give. And it just came forth from my spirit. And I hope that you guys this can resonate with you all. Go ahead and you can.
Okay, she says, we are all rightfully confused about the recommendations about the virus and opening things up. I wrote this comment on a friend's post. It is so hard to get factual information, for sure. My favorite website is mostly a financial leaning one, but has proven to post articles on the money more than any other site.
You guys come with
Zero
me.
Hedge. What makes things confusing are the talking heads in the media and politics who have agendas. I support Trump, but the right is obsessed with using the stock market at an all-time high and unemployment at an all-time low as their barometric for good and bad. The left-wing media definitely want to use anything they can to destroy Trump. And between them, we have the people, and we are getting whiplash. I think Mike DeWine, a Christian father of 8, actually has done a remarkable job for Ohio. Some other states' leaders have become little tyrants, shutting down farmers markets and seed sales. I don't know why our government used the Italian model to predict our situation. We don't have the same demographics or living situations. Most Americans are spread out. Italians, they greet each other with kisses. So do the French and Spain, all hard hit. Asymptomatic Italians going in and kissing their grandparents easily spread any virus. When you get confused, go back to things you know are facts and work your way out from there. Fact: China was so concerned they locked down an entire province. Fact: videos show people falling over dead in the street in Wuhan. Theory, my own, based on several articles. This virus was being worked on in one of the 2 Wuhan labs and got loose and spread very rapidly, so millions were infected and the whole area was sprayed down with bleach because China knew how dangerous this was. Tons of videos of giant bleach spraying machines went through the streets and they sent sprayers into workplaces. I believe the virus gets more dangerous and deadly the more people carry it in concentration. If you are around one person and you drink something, it doesn't hang around. And if
and you have a less chance.
And you have less chance of actually being infected. But if you are in a room full of it, your body is being bombarded. You have a greater chance of being infected. Logical conclusion. What do the hardest hit areas have in common? Dense populations and cities. Wuhan is incredibly dense in population with super high-rise apartments.
They're like
Italy,
50
France,
stories high.
Exactly. Spain all have dense cities. And New York. New York was hard hit, especially before treatments came to be widely used. I have a dear friend who lives in Manhattan, and it's very real, and lots of people are dying. Everyone knows someone. Her timeline is filled with death or those struggling with the virus. These are friends she personally knows. But the rest of the country is not like New York in density and travelers from all over the world who brought in the virus.
Right.
And that is why you don't see the outbreaks everywhere else. I don't know where we go from here, but I think the shutdowns bought precious time to allow different treatments to be used, and they are working. Italy literally just put people on ventilators and let the virus play out with little to no treatment. I read one doctor say that they should have and will start treating early with hydroxychloroquine. Keep questioning and asking the Holy Spirit to help you find truth and what rings true. Lots of people out there with their own agendas. Many wealthy people want the economy back up and running at full speed because their stock portfolio dropped at record lows. Many little tyrants want to control people and are high on power. This is a good time not to pick a side, but to take all in and think things through logically. That's very well said.
You know, the talking heads, whether it's Tucker Carlson or Laura Ingraham or Sean Hannity or anybody else, they have an agenda, and sometimes their agenda lines up with good things.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have always ignored the Laura Ingrahams and the Sean Hannitys who, like, they start their show off with the same thing. And the stock market has record highs and record low unemployment. And this is all thanks to President Trump. I believe that Trump has a lot of better qualities and a lot better policies than any sort of stock market, because we can't make the stock market and rich people buying parts of businesses make my life change or be good or bad.
Yeah.
Like, who cares what rich people are doing? What are people doing on the ground? What are average Americans doing? We have got to stop. We literally have to divorce the stock market. Like, today. We cannot. What's the stock market doing today? We're talking about rich people buying and we're talking about hedge funds and money managers buying and selling stocks on behalf of rich people. Why are we listening to them? Why do we care what they're doing?
Well, the other thing you shared, I don't know if you're going to read this one, over 43,000 U.S. millionaires will get stimulus averaging $1.6 million each.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel free to open that up.
Well, no, you just left no comment. That says it all right there. Like, seriously, this entire situation.
We get $1,200 and 43,000 U.S. millionaires will get $1.6 million apiece. You can bring it up so they can see it, so we're not making it up. But as you do, Dr. Oz says he misspoke when talking on reopening schools. Television's Dr. Oz says he misspoke during a Fox News Channel appearance where he said reopening schools was a very appetizing opportunity. Despite the coronavirus epidemic, he was on Sean Hannity. It was really weird. And in a Twitter post late Thursday, the heart surgeon and television host said he recognized his comments had confused and upset people, and that was never his intention. Oz was talking with Sean Hannity on Tuesday about ways to get our mojo back during the epidemic and mentioned schools, which are largely closed. I just saw a nice piece in the Lancet arguing that opening schools may only cost us 2 or 3% in terms of total mortality. You know, any life is a life lost. But to get every child back into school where they are being safely educated, being fed, and making the most of their lives with the theoretical risk on the backside might be a trade-off that some folks would consider. Some folks might die because of it. 2 or 3% of what? 2 or 3% of the entire population? To get children, kids back in school? Like 2 or 3% of who? What is your denominator of the 2 or 3%? Because we could be talking 5 people, we could be talking 100 people, we could be talking 100,000 people. What are you talking about, Dr.
Well, and
Oz?
to put it into perspective, if they're talking about the entire population, I think
insane.
Homosexuality has grown since then, but I think that homosexuals comprised like what? 3% of the population, right? So he's talking about
all homosexuals.
Right? I mean, or just some sort of group like that, right? That's what I was trying to get at. Not that I want homosexuals to die. But my point is, just so you can get an idea of what does 3% of the population look like, well,
dang.
There you go. Did you break the HDMI cord? No, it's right there. It's right behind you.
Okay. Whoop.
Calm down.
Step on the cord. But anyways, I have no idea what he was trying to say, but like Dr. Phil is going on like tirades. And Dr. Oz is going on tirades like these people can't handle it. You know why I think? Because the narcissists can't handle this.
Right.
They thrive. Narcissists, like Donald Trump, thrive on people around them.
Right.
Dr. Phil thrives on going to the stage and having his audience filled and being around people.
Well, and that's what I said about Candace Owens. Honestly, I think that's why she's so upset, because all of her speaking engagements have been canceled.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, you need to recuse yourself from commenting on this situation because you have an agenda here.
Yeah.
And I hope she at least admits it to herself. I have an agenda here. Yeah. I want my life back. I want my fans back. I want my crowds back. Right. I want to live off of my high. I want my money.
Right.
Like, that's what you want.
Right.
And at least be honest about it.
But by doing that, she's offering people jobs. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Andrew Cuomo says something that is really important here. Everything is made in China.
We need masks. They're made in China. We need gowns. They're made in China. We need face shields. They're made in China. We need ventilators. They're made in China. Okay, we're past that phase. Now we're on this new phase. We need testing agents. They're made in China. It's just, how? And these are all like national security issues when you're in this situation. But we do have people who work for the state in China who help us with trade relations. They were helpful here, but in truth, this is so much beyond that level. You have the federal government going to China to buy supplies. You have Illinois, California, New York, Italy, South Korea, everybody going to China. And it was well beyond the capacity of our reps.
Wow.
You have right now, China is holding up on their shores a bunch of PPP and a lot of stuff like that. So, to give you a nice, fun commercial break here.
Oh, dear. Do we have to?
So, I love Andrew Gupta here, and Dr. Gupta, and you've got CNN's, what's his face here? Cooper. Anderson Cooper. Now, just listen to Biden and try to tell me what you think he's saying.
Are you in front of Biden's head?
Kinds of things that have to be done. There's during World War II, where Roosevelt came up with a thing that was totally different than he called it the World War II. He had the War Production Board, kinds of things that.
So watch everyone's face here. Biden is reading something. The fact that he can't read it is scary.
Kinds of things that have to be done. There's during World War II, where Roosevelt came up with a thing that was totally different than he called it the World War II. He had the War Production Board.
Now, Biden has always had a little bit of a stutter, but like his mind is going. And actually, Steve Bannon said something today about sundowners. And that like at 4:00 when the sun starts to go down, then like dogs do it, and like they can be fine during the day, but it's called sundowners, and people get it, and it's kind of like a little bit of a dementia that happens as the sun goes down. And he's even saying that he can't debate Trump, but if he did, you can't do it later than 5:00. You know what I mean? Because he can't even get a sentence out. And
no, it's really sad, and I shouldn't laugh. I don't ever want. You want it to be a fair fight.
You do.
With your enemies. I mean, honestly, you really, really do. You don't want to fight an invalid. Yeah. It's not fair and it's not okay. Right. And the fact that the left is hiding behind an invalid is disgusting. Yeah. And shame on them. Shame on them for putting an invalid out in front.
Shame on them. This one I keep bringing up, so I'm going to let you see. It's had 12.2 million views. I was going to save it for my Sunday show, but I'm not. You can't sit on a park bench in the UK. You can't buy an Easter egg. You can't really sit in your own front garden. All of these have seen the police slap cuffs on people and fine them. But apparently, it's okay to break social distance rules if it allows the head of the Met to look good on camera. So this is the London Bridge clap here for NHS workers. No masks, no social distancing.
I don't know, they kind of look like they're social distancing.
Not really. They're one on top of each other. They're not 6 feet apart. They're not really at all. They're just crowds of people. So, there you have that. No, it was just crowds and crowds of people. All right. The discoverer of HIV says, not me. that the coronavirus could only have been created in a lab. Now, I'm not saying this. I'm saying the discoverer of HIV is saying this.
Yeah, because you wouldn't let me say it on Sunday.
Because you can get, they're kicking people
or
off
Wednesday,
right and left.
Whatever day it was.
There was a huge Facebook or Twitter.
I don't want to get banned. I don't want to get banned.
As the media, as the mainstream media and politicians, see what is. I will bring you as much truth as I can, but some things are not worth getting banned over. As the religion that shall not be named. As the mainstream media and politicians begin to raise and admit the possibilities that the source of COVID-19 was likely a lab in Wuhan, accidentally leaked or otherwise, something we first brought to the world's attention in January from Zero Hedge, before being mocked, censored, and chastised, poor Zero Hedge, it appears more actual scientists, at least those not paid by or working for a lab in Wuhan, and I have another article for that, Facebook, I just show you, a Facebook fact checker. Let's see, where's that?
Oh, she worked for a lab.
Facebook fact checker worked at Wuhan Biolab, ruled out virus leak while debunking articles. A Facebook fact checker who has debunked articles suggesting that COVID-19 may have leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology has a giant conflict of interest. She worked there, which is now suspected of accidentally leaking this hyper-virulent virus that's killed 130,000 people or even more. Danielle Anderson, who works at Duke University's U.S. Medical School lab in Singapore, also contributes to science feedback, which Facebook has been using to slap false information labels on articles claiming that COVID-19 may have originated at the Wuhan Institute, where Anderson worked with bat coronavirus. A quick search of Anderson's publications reveals no fewer than 9 collaborations with Dr. Pen Zhao, a Wuhan scientist experimenting on bat coronaviruses, and a mention of whom may result in a Twitter ban. So Cheryl Atkinson says, if you follow the info, you will find the Facebook fake fact checker on the China Wuhan lab is a scientist who works and has worked at China's Wuhan lab in the past 2 years and says it's impossible that they would be sloppy because they are very careful. Anderson has also been adamant that the lab adheres to the highest standards of safety and that COVID-19 simply couldn't have accidentally leaked. So I can't even, it makes me too angry. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore.
Okay, you were in the middle of an article.
I am, here. But, the doctor who discovered HIV. Gilmore Health's Dr. Robert Miller writes that contrary to the narrative that is being pushed by the mainstream that the COVID-19 virus was a result of a natural mutation and that it was transmitted to humans from bats via pangolins, stupid. Dr. Luc Montagnier, the man who discovered the HIV virus back in 1983, disagrees and says that the virus was man-made. Professor Luc Montagnier, 2008 Nobel Prize winner for medicine, claims that the SARS-CoV-2 is a manipulated virus that was accidentally released from a laboratory in Wuhan, China. Chinese researchers are said to have used coronaviruses in their work to develop an AIDS vaccine. HIV DNA fragments are believed to have been found in the SARS-CoV-2 genome. We know that the Chinese... why? Guess what, guys? HIV can be spread asymptomatically. So if you wanted to spread a virus asymptomatically, you'd put a strain, that part of HIV in there, wouldn't you?
Who said that? Who said that?
We knew that the Chinese version of how the coronavirus emerged was incredibly under attack, but there's a thesis that tells a completely different story about the COVID-19 pandemic, which is already responsible for a ton of deaths. According to Professor Luc Montagnier, winner of the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2008 for discovering HIV as the cause of the AIDS epidemic, together with Francois Bar-Sinoussi, the SARS-CoV-2 is a virus that was manipulated and accidentally released from a laboratory in the last quarter of 2019. According to Professor Montagnier, this laboratory, known for its work on coronaviruses, tried to use one of these viruses as a vector for HIV in the search for an AIDS vaccine. With my colleague, biomathematician Jean-Claude Paris, we carefully analyzed the description of the genome of this RNA virus, explains Montagnier, interviewed by Dr. Jean-Francois Lemonnier. I love this. These are great names. For the daily podcast on the Parcours de Cul. adding that others have already explored this avenue. Indian researchers have already tried to publish the results of the analysis that showed that this coronavirus genome contains sequences of another virus, the HIV virus. But they were forced to withdraw their findings as the pressure from the mainstream was just too great.
Or when your sister tells you can't say it on Facebook or on YouTube because we'll get taken off.
Yep. In a challenging question, Dr. Jean-François Lemonet inferred that the coronavirus under investigation may have come from a patient who is otherwise infected with HIV. No, he says, in order to insert an HIV sequence into this genome, molecular tools are needed, and that can only be done in a laboratory. According to the 2008 Nobel Prize for Medicine, a plausible explanation would be an accident in the Wuhan laboratory. He also added, basically, you gave yourself the HIV, like the part of the HIV. He also added that the purpose of this work was the search for an AIDS vaccine. The truth will eventually come out. In any case, this thesis, defended by Professor Luc Montagnier, has a positive turn. According to him, the altered elements of this virus are eliminated as it spreads. Nature does not accept any molecular tinkering. It will eliminate these unnatural changes, and even if nothing is done, things will get better, but unfortunately after many deaths. That is amazing there to think about. Because the word I believe the Lord gave me, that it would come in quickly, but it would disappear.
You know what it reminds me of?
If it gets less deadly over time, because the best scenario, if he's true, if he's right, if he's factually right, the best scenario is that, and China would come out and say, don't worry, we engineered it. It should get less deadly over time.
Now, what can we liken that to? We can liken that to plant grafts. We can liken that to hybrid seeds that don't reproduce well.
Yeah, after their own kind. Perfect analogy. See, this is the science section of Leah and Michelle's show. He also added that with the help of interfering waves, we could eliminate these sequences and as a result, stop the pandemic. Holy cow! That's better than vaccines. So interesting because Laura Ingraham had on Dr. Fauci. And she asked him about the HIV. We don't even have a vaccine for HIV. And he said, well, we have a lot of treatment for that. And it's not spread. It's not just spread through the air, right? You have to really be close to
for our younger viewers, which I don't even know how many we have out there. And it's really interesting to me because I find that more and more I've lived through a lot of things. And I'm older than I feel. Okay. I lived through the AIDS epidemic. And it was terrifying. They talked about it all the time. You were afraid of living with somebody who had AIDS. And the media propaganda instilled that in me. Yeah, you know, just like you were just terrified. If you met somebody that had AIDS, it was almost like a death sentence for you to have to give up, you know, being in their life. I think of... what's her name? Kelly Martin, when she played in the TV show that she did when she was a kid. Anyway, and her boyfriend got AIDS or whatever. And it was just this terrifying thing. It was like she was giving up her self-sacrifice of life just to be with him.
Right.
Okay. It's not like that anymore at all.
Right. Yeah. So, and then SARS went away. SARS went away probably because it was made in a lab. And so... you know, it's possible, and that's really good news.
It is very, very encouraging.
This is enough to feed some heated debates, so much so that Professor Montagnier's statements could also place him in the category of conspiracy theorists. Conspirators are the opposite camp hiding the truth, he replies, without wanting to accuse anyone, but hoping that the Chinese will admit to what he believes happened in their laboratory. To entice a confession from the Chinese, he used the example of Iran, which after taking full responsibility for accidentally hitting a Ukrainian plane, was able to earn the respect of the global community. Hopefully, the Chinese will do the right thing, he adds. In any case, the truth always comes out. It is up to the Chinese government to take responsibility.
Very good.
This could be such good news.
I love that it took a Nobel Prize winning scientist to confirm what I said 2 days ago.
Sure it does. Michael Cohen gets early release from prison.
What?
Due to COVID-19.
You're kidding.
Yeah, he can
Gotham City.
Drop the soap in peace after the Federal Bureau of Prisons ruled that he can spend the remainder of his 3-year sentence at home.
Oh my gosh.
Good for him. Twitter outlaws political satire, civil disobedience with fresh bans of conservative influencers. Twitter has taken upon themselves to remove 2 prominent voices of the public square once again. The first victim of Twitter's ban hammer was Owen Schroyer from InfoWars, who was encouraging followers to gather in person at the Texas state capitol in Austin on Saturday to protest coronavirus restrictions. Now, I wonder, did Twitter ban anybody who was encouraging people to go to the Michigan state capitol? I don't think so. Shortly after Media Matters wrote about the event, Schroyer was banished from the platform. Apparently, the public can't be trusted with decisions concerning their own personal safety. So Nanny Jack stepped in to protect us from Owen's persuasiveness. Why Owen Schroyer was banned. Twitter is facilitating the promotion of an InfoWars host rally that will flout Texas social distancing order. The question, though, how many more people have died in the pandemic because the WHO told the public there was no human-to-human transmission?
Like Fauci said.
When Chinese doctors who were silenced by the CCP said otherwise, and their own coronavirus expert disagreed, or not to wear masks, or that travel bans are unnecessary and racist. How many more people have died or are still battling the effects of coronavirus after Nancy Pelosi told people to come on down to Chinatown on February 24th and mingle when footage of dead and dying Wuhan residents was all over the internet?
Did you also see her sharing her freezer full of super expensive ice cream?
Precautions have been taken by our city. We know that there's a concern about tourism traveling all throughout the world, but we think it's very safe to be in Chinatown.
Liar. The second conservative influencer ban was Alex, a Turning Point USA staffer who dared to parody Joe Biden's avatar generator with the following picture: "I'm on Team Joe, Chairman Xi Jinping."
Wow.
So Twitter tells me that Alex was permanently suspended for violating the policy on platform manipulation and spam. They claim he was creating accounts to replace a suspended account. In other words, political satire is now off limits because presumably using humor to point out that Joe Biden has an uncomfortable relationship with China is simply too effective. So they're not bad folks. They're just competition for us. Joe Biden on the Communist Party in 2019. Remember,
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the west. They can't figure out how they're going to deal with the corruption that exists within the system. I mean, they're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not competition.
Just a healthy
the
competition.
Chi-Coms gave Hunter Biden's fund $1.5 billion. China released the COVID.
How is that not election manipulating? By the way,
someone let Joe Biden know he shouldn't have a build your own option on his website because I just made art. I'm on Team Joe, Harvey Weinstein. I'm on Team Joe, Jeffrey Epstein. Collateral damage. I'm on Team Joe. He called that guy fat, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm on Team Joe, lion, dog, face, pony soldier. He told that she was a Bernie supporter. Yeah. So much thanks for keeping us safe, Jack.
He calls a woman dog-faced, and he's still allowed to run for president.
I know. You're a log.
Like, he did it on camera,
lion,
okay? So, if I think it could be compared to what Trump said.
Does. Oh, he's worse than Trump.
No. I mean, the one thing that they always...
Right, I know, but he gets up in people's faces. Like, he has like a temper. Like, he's going to take him down. Let's take it outside. So weird. So, in Canada, the CBC instructs kids on how to shut down their parents' conspiracy theory day. A CBC's new report gives kids advice on how to shut down conspiracy theories voiced by their parents about coronavirus being created in China in a lab. Oh the presenter laments how somebody's dad, may drop a message into chat blaming China for manufacturing the coronavirus, and a link to a site you never heard of. Translation, a link that's not, God forbid, mainstream media. The piece then features a woman from a group that combats misinformation online who urges the son or daughter not to get confrontational with their dad, but to accuse him of being accurate and stirring fear.
You're kidding.
So what do you do when this happens? A loved one, let's say it's your dad, drops into the family group chat with something he thinks is real. It's something about China manufacturing the coronavirus. There's a link to a site you've never heard of with a message calling it scary stuff. So what do you do with this? Do you ignore it? Do you call him out, saying how ridiculous you think this is?
If you do that to your dad, you've actually shamed him. My name is Claire Wardle, and I'm the US Director of First Draft, and we are a non-profit that we help people navigate the challenges of misinformation online.
What's behind me? Can they hear it?
Your dad doubles down on his view, and he dismisses what you're saying. Use language that's empathetic and to say we're all in this together, and rather than you're wrong, I'm right, here are the facts, because that does not work.
So about reactive talk. Maybe try something like this. Yeah, these are scary times. We're all a bit afraid, but let's be careful. What you're sharing is inaccurate, and it feeds into that fear we all feel.
Everybody's anxiety is so heightened right now. People are sharing this stuff not for any malicious reasons, but because they're scared too.
Sending more context could also be a good move, but don't drown them in evidence. Maybe send an article from a legitimate source quoting credible scientists on why the virus wasn't manufactured. Conspiracies can be just as infectious, just as dangerous as a virus, so you have to guard against them.
It's very easy to just mute your...
Conspiracies can be just as dangerous as a life-taking virus.
Crazy high school...
Because conspiracy theories can put you on a ventilator and then take your life.
And on Facebook, or to leave a WhatsApp group where people are sharing false information. But
conspiracies can make you drown in your own lung fluid.
Oh, stop it.
Now I actually think there's kind of a responsibility.
Sometimes conspiracies are more dangerous than death.
You mean conspiracy theories?
Conspiracy theories are more dangerous than death itself.
All of us to help people understand that sharing that kind of information is increasing the level of pollution.
Pollution.
That's very helpful. I'm so glad they did that.
Yes. The suggested article, unsurprisingly, comes from the CBC and is entitled, "No, the new coronavirus wasn't created in a lab, scientists say." In reality, as Fox News, so do we all bombard her with, maybe you should share things from legitimate sources?
Exactly.
Maybe you should stop spreading fake news because you're just spreading fear that it wasn't created in a lab and that it was naturally occurring and nature hates us. Isn't that more scary? Oh, I would much rather this be made in a lab. Because as that doctor said, I don't want nature to just come up with these things.
Yeah, that's freaky.
That means it can come again, but if it's made in a lab, you shut down the lab, it's not going to come out again. That makes me not afraid. I'm happy. That makes me so not afraid. It makes me afraid of that lab, but not of nature. Right. That nature doesn't hate me. The irony of all this, of course, is that virtually nobody trusts the mainstream media. So when they attack conspiracy theories, it just makes more people believe them. And we have people, I have friends sending me links. I have people saying, random people who have never been red-pilled, like, I watched Out of the Shadows and now I don't know what to believe. And I'm like, hallelujah, because of the lockdown, people be trying to find stuff to watch. And there are rabbit holes that YouTube has, unfortunately or fortunately, you can still find them if somebody sends you a link.
Yeah.
You can't find it. They make it so it's not searchable. It will not come up as a recommended video.
Just like I showcased with the Out of the Shadows. Within days, it went to 4 or 5 million views. And then when you search for it...
But everybody
in the YouTube, you only get like the 800,000 views.
Everybody
has seen that documentary. Just within the past week, we have all of these red-pilled people
going like... watching... I know.
Oh, wow.
The pedophiles, the Hollywood man.
You mean there's not right versus left? You mean it's bigger than that? Oh, yeah. It's bigger than that. Way bigger than that.
It's pretty awesome, actually, that people are finding ways out still. Nah, that's stupid.
It literally boils down to God versus the devil. Yeah. What side are you going to be on? And it takes the Holy Spirit and prayer and a relationship with God to find the truth. You're not going to find it from the mainstream media. You're not going to find it from people that agree with you in your echo chamber. Okay, get out of the echo chamber. Go searching. You will find truth. And it literally is God versus the devil.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You need to decide what side you're on there, not what side you're on politically.
So I don't like this move. The USDA wants to purchase farm products to support food banks. That's what they did. That's what created food stamps to begin with. That's how we have the corn-based food. If you don't know the history of it, that's a really great rabbit hole that you can try to find. I'm talking about how how did our current food pyramid, and it was totally created to use up extra resources that they had encouraged
They
farmers
weren't building the food pyramid
to plant.
Oh, look, I'm going to get in trouble. I just made a pyramid. They weren't making the food pyramid
for health.
For health purposes. It was literally to get Americans to consume what they wanted or what they needed to be consumed.
Right, exactly. So that's why they were telling everybody 11 servings a day of wheat. Like, that's crazy. You know, and so anyways, they told farmers to plant fence row to fence row corn and soybean, right? And so every time, and then they had extras, and then they started to give them to poor people, right. And then you eventually ended up with food stamps. That's how you were given a booklet, and then they were given the extras, and then eventually now it's just money, but still. Coronavirus shutdowns have completely disrupted food supply chains, from restaurants to supermarkets to distributors to processors, all the way down to farmers. Why is this? Well, America is under government-enforced lockdowns to flatten the curve, preventing customers from eating at restaurants and bars, and it's shifted where the supply chains is. You see restaurants that are now opening up grocery stores because they have food, like even Subway. Basically what happened is that the farm products for commercial clients that have yet to be packaged for consumers are being dumped as restaurant industry folds. You're seeing milk dumped. It's a pretty crazy situation. This is open table where people, you know, there's no tables open. All the tables are open. No, I'm just kidding. They're all closed. This is a seismic shift. Countless images poured onto Twitter detailing how farmers dumped tanker loads of milk down the drain. It's honestly, it's like watching a death to me. So I'm not going to go over these pictures too much. It's like down the street where the guy didn't want to take care of his apple orchard that had been in his family for like ever, and he cut down all the apple trees. Like it literally just makes me hurt inside. Agricultural Secretary Sonny Perdue, Purdue Chicken Factory Farms, told Fox Business Wednesday that President Trump would like the USDA to start purchasing milk and meat products as part of a $15.5 billion rescue package for farmers. We want to purchase as much of this milk or other protein products, ham and pork products, and move them into where they can be utilized in our food banks or possibly into international humanitarian aid. While we don't believe future food purchases by the government will be transferred into international humanitarian aid programs, the likely end destination will be food banks that are experiencing the most significant demand surge ever, as 17 million people have filed for bankruptcy. Listen, I'm against this. What I want to see is the ability to turn this over into small farms and things like that. I'm hoping that step by step we realize that if you're making millions of gallons of milk a day and your supply chain gets cut off, what are you going to do? You need a contingency plan.
Exactly.
Okay, and so these supply chains, like to restaurants and to they see these big giant dairies contract out to specific places, and they don't have the ability to make a quick switch to like, hey, let's make more
because of all the red tape.
Hey, let's make more yogurt. Hey, so you could just be like, this is in a lot of these dairies, they're just specifically going to schools as packaged little milk containers, and if those schools aren't open, then those milk containers aren't being created. Right, and that's where I believe that particular milk is being dumped and things like that.
Well, milk is a little bit different than a lot of other things because it has to be used
pretty quickly
like that. And once again, that's
especially
why
when it's been pasteurized.
That's exactly.
And it has to be pasteurized.
That's why we believe in small farms, local farms. You should get your milk from the milkman. The school should get their milk from the local milkman.
Right.
Okay? The restaurants should get their milk from the local milkman. You don't need these big, giant dairies where they're confinement factory farms and they're producing millions of gallons of milk. I mean, it's wrong. It's not the way that it was supposed to be. Yeah. It's not the way God designed it.
Right. So, as we end our show today, I'm just going to kind of go over some of the highlights. Let's see. CNN reporting sharp increase in COVID cases in states without stay-at-home orders. Oklahoma 53%, 60% in Arkansas, 74% in Nebraska. But these are small numbers anyways. This is not like if you saw a 200% spike in New York City, you're going to see thousands and thousands of cases. So, you know, some of these numbers are definitely kind of, they're cooking the books. To be clear, numbers generally remain low, with these states still reporting At most, a few hundred cases, with a few notable exceptions. South Dakota, for example, deaths have been notably low, and the people are increasingly pushing legislators and representatives to start the process of reopening their economies. The market's Friday rally is bruised, but not by a long shot broken. Everybody was so excited about the opening. The market did rally a little bit, but it's kind of like trying to turn over the car, like you're missing a spark plug. However, its near-term survival could depend on the numbers reported by New Jersey, Michigan, and a handful of other states. And New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy just shared the state's latest update with 323 deaths, another disturbing high reading, but a drop from yesterday's number and solidly below a record in the high 300s set earlier this week. Deaths, particularly in nursing homes, have been accelerating across the tri-state area, and New Jersey is no exception. Let's see, China's Hu Jin could not resist the opportunity to troll the president after his flurry of frustrated tweets earlier, we talked about, where he took a few moments to bash Beijing over the Wuhan revisions, the CPC's latest insult to the West's collective intelligence and, sadly, the intelligence of the Chinese people. Trump sent out a flurry of tweets earlier bashing Cuomo, we talked about that, and the Chinese while cheering for states to reopen. Now Hu, the editor of the Global Times, Beijing's favorite English language mouthpiece, is striking back, insulting the president's eyesight and critically math skills. You have poor eyesight or you have poor at math. China revised COVID-19 death toll up by 1,290 from 3,342. It's not doubling. Aren't you embarrassed comparing U.S. death toll to China's? Under your leadership, daily death toll in U.S. is close to China's total number. Poor America.
Because you lie about your numbers. You lied. Oh my gosh, you lied. No one on either side of the aisle believes China's numbers. Nobody.
No, because
they literally went to no new cases.
Yeah.
Instantly. We don't have any new cases. Well, why don't you have any new cases? Because you're not testing people.
So Wuhan is a little bit bigger.
And then they go and shut down other cities after they say they have no new cases. Why are you shutting down a city if you have no new cases?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody believes you, you bunch of liars.
Wuhan is a little bit bigger than New York City, and New York City is like 10,000 deaths, and they're saying that they're still 4. Like, seriously, and Wuhan was...
You mean 400?
4,000.
Oh, 4,000 deaths.
Like, whatever the numbers are.
No.
They added 1,200 to 3,000, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is that Wuhan people were just falling over dead. Their hospitals were vastly understaffed.
The lines to pick up the urns from the cremated bodies were ridiculously long. You can't just tell me that it was just kind of like the flu.
Right. Okay, so New York reports 229,000 cases total. We talked about schools are closed all the way to the end of the year in Texas, but they're finding a way to reopen. But they're opening the parks. See, that's going to be fun. Let's see. The WHO, once again, China's lies aren't simply taken as truth. They are spun as noble acts. Taking a more somber turn, WHO Dr. Mike Ryan said the organization has evidence suggesting herd immunity hasn't been achieved anywhere and that only a low proportion of people have antibodies to the virus, echoing findings that we've noted a handful of times, including on Zero Hedge. We shouldn't assume that just because somebody has had the virus that they will be forever immune, and they probably won't be. France reports 761 more coronavirus deaths. That's crazy. Their death toll is at 18,681, roughly the equivalent with yesterday's jump just a few days after France reported a massive jump in newly confirmed cases to account for a rash of nursing home outbreaks. Figures that had been excluded. A lot of people were excluding the nursing home outbreaks. All told, France has roughly 140,000 total cases as of yesterday. Now remember, to make fun of the United States with like 229,000, well, I don't know, to make fun of the United States when France is like this and we're like this.
Per capita.
Yeah.
Our numbers are not as bad as other places.
France,
and our Spain. Deaths most certainly are not.
Exactly. Let's see. Illinois' governor is expected to announce schools across the state will close for the rest of the academic year. I think there's 28 states that have said school's out. We're just done. 27 in total with Illinois, so 27. Italy reported some good news on Friday as the number of new positive cases continue to decline. Their numbers are going down. Their deaths are still like almost steady at 575. So they had some peaks and they're kind of going down. Italy reported 3,493 new cases. the cases are just numbers. They don't really mean anything because you don't really know. Those are just cases confirmed. We don't know if they're asymptomatic. We don't know if they're symptomatic. We don't know how bad it is. I think we just need better numbers all around. And then I told you that Cuomo's press conference said that they want to start arbitrarily testing citizens as part of the reopening process.
I got problems with that.
And an executive order demanding labs to cooperate with state officials in prioritizing diagnostic testing. He added that the number of New Yorkers being hospitalized is still humming at a rate of 2,000 a day, which he acknowledged is still very high. Statewide testing is a massive undertaking, he says, and will require more federal assistance. And then Mayor Bill de Blasio, he's just kind of on his own. He held a press conference at the same time as Cuomo. Like, why would you do that? All right, I think that's kind of it as far as all of the updates. And then Nature is responding. This was just kind of funny. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but I don't know what airport this is at, but the crabs have come out. It was kind of funny.
What? Can you make that bigger? Wait a minute.
So I don't know.
Why? Wait, where are we?
I don't know.
I'm terrified. Like, I'm going to be sick.
Look at how they walk.
Oh, no.
Do the crab.
No, they didn't.
Do the crab.
Stop it. You stop that.
It scared me, man.
No! It's like a nightmare! It's a plague! Oh, no.
I know.
You're laughing! I would not be laughing! I'd be running,
and then,
crying!
In South Africa, a tribe of lions decided to they're laying in the road because
they're
traffic's
just napping in the road because it's warm and little tigers. That's way better than the crabs.
Tigers, but yeah, they're having a good time.
Leah.
Yeah.
I can't believe you played that. The crabs. Now is the time for a good commercial break. We went to Mustang Island in Texas in probably 2002. I want to say. Yeah, it was 2002. And we camped on the beach, and it was really, really windy. And it was like it was supposed to be fun. And we were cooking over a fire. We didn't end up eating until like 12:30 in the morning because we'd driven down there. And like our food had sand in it because we tried to make like a pit for a fire. And we're like a mess. And then all of these crabs came out.
Yeah, the whole beach was full.
And to go to the outhouse, you had to, and we're talking like the entire beach was full of crabs. It was terrifying. Like my mom and I went, and I probably did go to the bathroom holding onto her like that. Like I was so afraid.
Shoo them away so you could go to
the
the bathroom.
Those crabs, and I ended up wearing that shirt that had a crab on. The next day I went and bought me a crab shirt because it was like a rite of passage or something like that. They say, what are they throwing? Better not be a crab.
No, we have nuns playing basketball because people need sports. Yep, stole your ball, baby.
Oh my god. That is awesome.
Good
well,
shot.
They're good, man.
No dribbling, I guess.
Why aren't they allowed to dribble?
I don't know. They just keep tossing it.
This is hilarious. This is the funnest thing I've ever seen.
The one in the white's pretty good, actually. So that's had over 3 million views on Twitter, and people are just really hungry for sports.
That's really, really fun. That's good. And they're kind of social distancing, so...
Well, yeah, but they live, obviously, in the same place.
They're in the same community convent there.
Okay.
That was a great show. Good job, Leah. So, it's Friday. Kelly was asking if we got her card in the mail. She cares enough to send the very best Hallmark Gold Crown. There. This is Kelly Fish in California. Oh, it's really pretty. You can get it out here.
I think we should have had it by Easter. Sorry.
I'm sorry we didn't go to the post office on time. That's a really pretty card.
Happy Easter. Belated Easter. We'll take it.
Leah, Michelle, and family, hope the day brings warm, happy feelings to your heart. God bless you all. Love from California. Kelly Fish. P.S. Praying every day.
Love it.
I love it. I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, yes, we did get your card, Kelly. We did have a really good Easter. It was really slow. We took a bike ride around our neighborhood, and it was after our show, I think. And you said it was the most peaceful ride you had ever had because it was really. And we got to kind of see the damage of the tornado.
Oh yeah, yeah. Guys, I don't want to go back to the busy.
Me neither.
Can we just find some sort of equal
And we are going to. That's what's going to happen. And I want you guys to be encouraged about everything that God is doing out of this. Yes, the devil meant this for all kind of crazy bad, really bad, take all of your rights away and all kinds of stuff. And for a while there, it kind of looked like he was succeeding. Okay. And then all of a sudden it's like everything is turning into a dud. Okay. Families that can't get certain items are having to make new decisions. They're playing games. They're spending time together. If the food supply chain comes to a halt, they're going to have to seek out local sources for food. The media, the Hollywood industry, done. Okay? Sports, done. You know what's up? Family time. Family time is at an all-time high. No one is talking about that. Can we get a stat on that, please?
Yeah, through the Bristol, in Africa, there's a spider that walks sideways and looks like a crab.
You know what? Sometimes I think that the devil created some things in creation and not just God. I know that's not true, but sometimes I feel that way inside. Because that's the devil. That is not okay.
The card actually did. It was quarantined for a couple days, yeah.
Yes. Just concentrate on farming, ladies. Hey, we're having a good time.
Left my chickens. We got to go clip the wing of one chicken because I have a fenced-in thing, and they got in and ate a bunch of my sprouts.
Sounds like a job for Kansas.
I know. It does sound like a job.
So I'm so glad that you guys were here, whether you're watching on Periscope, whether you're watching on Facebook, or you're watching on YouTube.
When was the last time you did a song for the day?
I haven't done a song for the day. Okay. Today was a non-existent day for me. Okay?
Yeah, she didn't
Literally,
feel good.
I woke up and the whole world did this, and I used the restroom, and I came back upstairs, and I laid in bed, and the whole world with my eyes closed was doing this. So I just went back to sleep. And every time I woke up, and then I woke up again. So I just stayed in bed. I think I slept for 13 hours.
Storms have a way of doing that.
To me specifically. So and literally sitting here right now, I'm literally getting ill.
Ooh, we should sign off.
So yes, we're going to sign off. But I'm so glad that you guys were here. I'm glad that we were able to do our show. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and that God is with you. I want you to be encouraged. When you come to our show, I want you to walk away with hope about what is happening because these are unprecedented times. I don't care what amazing time people have lived throughout history. We're in one of them. Whether it's the greatest, most incredible time, I don't know. Time will tell. But we are definitely living in one of those times.
And if you guys weren't with us on Wednesday, go and watch the last 30 minutes because
Holy Ghost fire fell on that
really
show.
Great time.
We walked upstairs and Patriot Gallery, our mom, she was like, "Did you all know that was gonna happen? Because that was crazy. God just showed up. Literally, if you missed Wednesday's show from 2 days ago, number one, you got to go watch the second half of it. You have to. You do not want to miss that show. I mean, it's just you will walk away feeling like you're walking on
water.
Yeah. All right. We love you guys.
Sunday
Remember,
1.
We have a P.O. Box, 107 Milford, Ohio, 45150.
Everything's UK Euro news now.
If you send us your letters, we will read them on air unless otherwise noted. We're so glad you guys are part of our Resistance Chicks family. Remember,
it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth.
Actually the truth. We love you. God loves you. God bless. TV.
I was caught